What's up, everybody? I received a package from Zoom North America, and what this is a review unit of the Zoom R4 MultiTrak recorder. So what I'm going to do in this video is go ahead and open up, take a look at it, look around the device, see how it works, and maybe power it on and see if I can get this thing going. Go ahead and check it out. All right, so I'm going to open this up here. It's a review unit. So let's do a quick tour of the device. I want to go ahead and just give you a quick overview of what we have here. It looks like this is the Zoom R4 MultiTrak. And basically what this is going to be is a 4-track recorder. So we got the Zoom R4 MultiTrak recorder, but you can see on this device, it has a very straightforward format. You got your screen, a few buttons, some faders, and some more buttons here. And then, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, assuming that these are for the 4 tracks right here. Now, what's cool about this device is it has input A and B as well, and it records into 32-bit float. So what I would like to do is take you on a quick tour of the device. And what I will do is actually go ahead and tell you everything about this device here, and I'll do more videos in the future as I test it out. So if you look here, we got the names of the parts. Right here is the display. Right here we have track function buttons. Right here we have the faders. Right here we have the input button. We have the effect button and the rhythm button. Right here we have the bounce and undo buttons. So if you don't know, you can record 4-track and you can have unlimited bounces right here. And then what you could do is record another 4 tracks after you bounce. And what it will do is save all 4 tracks plus the bounce as well. So every time you do make a bounce, it will include the bounces on that SD card. All right, so what I'll do here is go on and move to this particular section. You see right here, search backwards and forwards buttons is here. We got our stop button, play button, and record button here. Right here we have an input A. What's cool about input A is it has this right here where you could put in a microphone, but as well, you can put this onto mic. And if you put this onto mic, what you could do is go ahead and record it out of the mic that's built in here. Now you look, there are 2 inputs. So if you put this on input A, you can make that a microphone input, or you can make it an instrument input. That's what's cool about that. It does have instrument and balance line inputs. Right here we have an input for the SD card, and you have a power button. Okay. Now this is a micro SD card. So if you look right here, this micro SD card slot does take micro SDH cards. Now, if you look right here, you can use a micro SDXC card from 64 gigabytes to 1 terabyte. So you can have a lot. You could put a lot of information on 1 terabyte when it comes to audio on this thing. So if you look here, it is turned on by batteries. So right here on the back, you have a battery selection, and it looks like it takes 4 AA batteries. So what I want to go ahead and do is pop a few of these in here and see if I can get the screen to come on. So I put 4 AA batteries in here. I'm going to go ahead and power it on. Now you can see Zoom R4 SD card. Now when it comes on, I'm going to have to set the date and time. So let me go ahead and do this. All right, so there we go. Straightforward. I put the batteries in. I set the date and time. I picked what kind of batteries there was, which in this case is alkaline batteries. So you can see this is the MultiTrak recorder here. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and see what's going on here. All right, so here's the connections. So you can see you can connect your guitars and microphones. This is what I was talking about earlier. You can use the built-in mic for recording and set the switch to input A or mic. And you can see right here, you can have your guitar plugged into it with the instrument input, or you could put the mic into it, which is a balance input. And you also can have a condenser mic as well. Now, if you look over here, you can select your different inputs. So let's try to do that. You can see right here, we got our input button, and you can see you can select your different input right there. So you got input A with that lightning bolt, which means condenser mic. So if you have a condenser mic, make sure you have that with the lightning bolt. And you got input B for track 1. Okay, so if you look, let's look at this. You got track 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you look right here, you have input A that can go here if you push that once. You see that? If you push it twice, you could do input A with with voltage going into your condenser microphone. So you can power your condenser microphone. And if you put input B, that's going to go from input B here. And if you put input B with the condenser, you could put that there. Now I'm assuming if you hit input A and you switch this over, you could use this built-in mic, and it does indeed say mic right there. Now, if you see here, it does say adjusting for the volume. So I do believe these are going to be faders to adjust for the volume. Check. You can see I'm recording right here into the mic. Check, check. I could turn it down. Check. So this does set your input right here. All right, so you can see right here, confirm that the level meter is moving. Check, check. So let's go ahead and look at the side of the unit here. You can see that you have a volume input. So if you look right here, you have a headphone input, and it looks like you could set the volumes for your headphone right there. That seems very straightforward and simple. You do have input effects. So let's go ahead and look at this real quick. So if you push the effect button, let's see what happens. All right. So here's input a mic effect. Okay. So it looks like we have some effects here. All right. So let's go ahead and turn this on or off. All right. You can see it looks like this is a 1073 preamp. If you go, we got a solo preamp 2, preamp 3, which is, looks like a direct input, clear driver preamp. There's a bunch of effects on here. So I'm not going to go through all of these effects right here, but if you look through, there are a decent number of amp effects, which is really good if you are a guitar player. That's amazing, actually. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to this rhythm button. So if you look, we have different rhythms in here, so we can pick different rhythm patterns. So you could turn it on and off right here. It looks like you have your tempo, the volume of the rhythm, and the pre-count. All right. So over here, you have recording, and you got a record button here. You have your record button here, your play button, and your stop button. So right here, you have recordings. It looks pretty straightforward. I'm going to have to play with that to see how it actually operates, but it looks like you have a stop recording button. And then when the operation stops, you can move this playhead to the beginning, stop, stop, and it goes back to the beginning. And if you look right here, we got the record button and then the stop record button. Use stop for stop recording, play to play, and then record to start recording and continue replay back. Now, if you hit record, it will start going. If you hit record again, you can stop recording and then hit record again and it'll start recording. I'm going to have to look into that and see what that does actually. But that's right there. Now playing recordings, you can see right here, you can hit play and it'll work. If you hit stop twice, it'll go back to 0 and you can hit play and it'll start playing from the beginning. It does look like there's adjusting the mix and bouncing here as well. You could adjust the EQ and panning. So if you hit this button on track 1, you can go into this menu here. You can adjust the EQ. You get your high, middle, low, pan, and you got echo and reverb effects here for each track, it does look like. Now it looks like these faders do have additional functions. To use the faders to adjust track levels. While listening to playback, use faders to adjust the balance. So that's pretty good right there. Now right here it says quick bounce. Tracks 1 through 4 can be combined in a bounce track. Quick bounce and real-time bounce options are available. So if you look right here, the quick bounce, this can quickly combine tracks 1 through 4 in the bounce track. This is what's really cool about this feature, because back in my day, we used to have to use 4 tracks and then bounce them over to 2 tracks and then use it. You know, it was a whole process to bounce it to a tape and then bounce it back and then bounce it. And each time you bounced it, it created an additional layer of tape noise. In this, I'm assuming there might be some kind of noise, but I'm sure it's not as much as tape noise when you do bounce. But you have a quick bounce and you have a real-time bounce. I'm going to have to look into this. But it says the quick bounce can quickly combine tracks 1 through 4 in the bounce track. Real-time bounce, this allows faders to be used to adjust levels while bouncing tracks 1 through 4 in the bounce track. So you can also use the undo button to revert a bounce track to the previous state. But the undo function can only be used on the most recent bounce. Now keep in mind, I do believe the previous bounces are still there in the background, so you could always access them on the SD card when you want to access them later. But this right here is talking about the most recent bounce. So what you could do is press undo and it'll undo your most recent bounce and then you can get your original tracks back. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and test this Zoom R4 multi-track recorder for the next few days. And then what I'm going to do is perhaps come back next week or the week after and do a more in-depth review.